Last part, we ended up being roped into a clandestine mission appointed by Grand Nagus Rom to recover the Sword of Kalis from the vault of the Iconian Taket. This was technically an off-the-books mission, but one that yielded a solid lead, the discovery of the Hur'q homeworld, Havas-Kul. Dr. Bashir was the one to uncover the lead through analysis of the sword, and through him we're looping in the Alliance on what we have discovered.
Researchers led by my friend Dr. Bashir have isolated several fascinating aspects of Hur'q biology. I'm told this data provides insight on their native environment, specifically a metallic planetoid orbiting a pulsar within a nebula. There's one system that meets these requirements, Havas-Kul in the Gamma Quadrant. I'm going there to investigate along with Captain Kira in the Defiant. Dr. Bashir will accompany us as well. His insight will be critical to the mission's success. The Doctor believes we'll find what we need to end this conflict on Havas-Kul. If he's right, and he often is, I'm willing to travel to the heart of enemy territory. Won't you join us?
My dear Counsellor, I wouldn't miss it for the world. It's funny, it's our scheming with Quark that put us ahead of the curve on this one, and Garak is unaware that Bashir's research was in fact our not strictly sanctioned mission. At least, for now he has no idea. I don't think he knows anyway, though it is Garak. He could be lying. Is he playing me? I should confess everything. So we set a course for Havas-Kul, through the wormhole and across the Gamma Quadrant. Starfleet excursions into this area have been heavily limited since the Treaty of Bajor, and there are few colonies or installations of Starfleet's origin. One of the few being New Kittimer, which shares borders with Dominion territory, and there are no colonies within Dominion space. For their part, the Dominion have seemingly upheld their end of the treaty too, with the only incidents being the rogue link created by the changeling Lars and his Jem'Hadar that would not return to the Gamma Quadrant, a sect the Founders vehemently deny, their reinforcements that the Dominion provided to the Alliance at the end of the Iconian War, and Odo's fleet that joined us over Bajor, which we now know was all staged. That last one has placed a great strain on this Dominion Alliance operation, especially when we learned that Odo's supposed last fleet was anything but, and that the Dominion seemed to have roped us into a struggle against the Hur'q while they sat back and watched. It certainly looks as if the Dominion is still up to its old games, allowing two adversaries to destroy one another. Odo himself claims to have no knowledge of this, but he did draw the Alliance into this war, so either he is in on it or he's being used too. Either way, we can't trust him until we know the truth. Nearby to Havas-Kul are several astronomical phenomena out on the fringes of explored Gamma Quadrant space, the Genkata Nebula and the Obata Cluster. We're rocketing past both of these and continuing on. Eventually we arrive just outside of the system, where we can find Garak's assembled fleet and the USS Defiant. With all ships accounted for, we enter the system to find a tumultuous sight. The nebula itself clouds much, while the strobing of the pulsar that acts as this system's star brings deep purple and azure hues to the gases. Intense radiation and abnormal energies spike across this cloud, making for frequent visible strikes of lightning discharges. Adding to this tempest is Havas-Kul's moon, which itself seems to be half destroyed and scattered in orbit of the planet for some ancient collision or catastrophe. That anything evolved here to survive seems strange. It would definitely be impossible for most carbon-based life forms.
I have to say, the survey reports on this system really don't do it justice. A nebula, a pulsar, dark energy, and the Hur'q homeworld.
Should we start a Deadpool to see which one's going to kill us first? Although there's one thing notably absent. The Hur'q. I don't detect any.
Nor I. Isn't that strange? One would think they'd place a heavy guard on their home system. How peculiar. Let's use this opportunity to look around. Quietly, of course.
Agreed. There could be a lot of interference that we're not detecting in all of this EM soup. Although, with how instinctual the Hur'q act, it's probably no surprise that they didn't remain here. Not when there's tastier minerals to be had elsewhere. Though we do begin with a general scan of the system.
We're reading a number of interesting phenomena, despite interference from the nebula. Let's see. Plethora of heavy metallic compounds. And a hotbed of tetryon and thermobaric energy throughout the nebula. A fitting birthplace for a future star.
Well, we're probably in the remnants of a supernova.
There's a moon nearby. Preliminary scans aren't showing much, but it's just the kind of place the Hur'q could be using to hide a base. Or a fleet. I'd like to take a closer look.
Alright, let's move in. But I'm getting a distinctly graveyard feel to this place.
The pulsar's throwing off a lot of hazardous energy.
Well, it should be nothing our shields can't handle.
Most astute, Captain. Let's make the appropriate shield adjustments.
Garak seems to be the one taking point on this mission, and I'm happy to let him. We eventually scan the moon.
I don't like this. Scans are showing a lot of bare rock, but no metals or compounds. It's a lot like...
Like it's being completely stripped of anything remotely useful? The calling card of the Hur'q, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps we should send down a probe, just to be absolutely sure. There could be some Hur'q down there, hidden by the nebula's effect on our sensors.
Okay, prepare a probe and fire to what's left of that moon.
It's barely Class D. No metals, complex compounds, liquids, or atmosphere.
The interior is a complex maze of tunnels. Thousands of them.
This matches Hur'q patterns we've seen elsewhere. They've been here.
So looking like we're in the right place.
The probe is online and transmitting. Our science teams are taking a close look at the incoming data, but it doesn't look terribly promising. Shall we forge on? There's a lovely planet nearby, no doubt filled with a bounty of toxic rocks and metallic salts.
Okay, I vote Garak picks the location for all our future missions. He seems to find just the most perfect vacation spots. We sail on towards Havas-Kul, across a broken road made from the remnants of the moon. Maybe an analysis of the planet will shed some light here, give us something to work with.
Entering scanning range now.
Its astronomic readings are strange. The planet has a highly eccentric orbit. Looks like it collects matter from the nebula as it sweeps around the pulsar, all while being bombarded with radiation. Definitely not habitable by most standards, though it's not quite demon class. An orbital period of several thousand years. That explains the Hur'q life cycle. They must hibernate while the planet is at the far range of its orbit. This orbit coincides with the previous emergences of the Hur'q. The 1,000-year cycle explains why they appear suddenly, then vanish just as quickly.
We're reading complex structures here, along with power systems and technology. This could be a base of operations for the Hur'q. It appears to be deserted. Why don't we take a look around? This could be a prime opportunity.
Let's meet on the Defiant. We'll need to make some preparations before we send an away team down there.
So this wreck of a planet is currently at its most habitable phase, well, at least for the Hur'q. For a millennium, it will be dragging itself through this irradiated, roiling mass of matter and energy, collecting particles until it re-enters a habitable zone. The Hur'q hibernated for this time, and even now, freed from the confines of their world, they are beholden to their evolved biological clock, returning underground for 1,000 years. At least this means we may be able to wait them out, if nothing else. It also explains their physiology being so different. A metal-based carapace is going to be far more resistant to radiation than our, well, skin. This place is the remnants of a supernova. The remaining core of this supergiant star that expelled this nebula is now that pulsar, a neutron star spinning incredibly fast, even though it still has the mass of a star. This creates the flickering pulsing of visible light and other wavelengths. Interestingly enough, around this particular pulsar, we can see a pulsar wind nebula, the purple haze spiralling around it. Basically, this is matter caught up in the rotation of the pulsar like a tornado. Here's one from a pulsar in the Crab Nebula. Ain't space cool?
I've sent a team down to establish a secure zone. They're ready for you, but you'll want to put on an EV suit before you beam down. We have some in that container for you to use. Once you're suited up, we'll beam you down to the secure zone. It's just below the planet's surface in a large cavern area.
Fair enough, although this shouldn't be an issue. I've got my own EV suits designed just for this. They worked on New Kara, they'll work here too. We suit up in our bulky gear to protect ourselves from the dangerous environment down there, and we make ready to beam down. Okay, we have arrived within these caves, and so far... Wait a minute. What are those spacesuits? They're far slimmer and more convenient. Where did you get them? Why don't I have them? I want some. You gave one to Garak? But he's not even... But... Somebody's pulling a prank on me, aren't they? And as if we needed any more proof that this was Hur'q territory, we have the remains of hatched germanium eggs, or crystals as Kumaki insisted. In numerous points around this chamber we also have pockets of visible gases, nothing corrosive yet. Our suits are doing a good job of protecting us. We also have supplies we'll need to construct a station, as we have done on planets such as New Kara, that will have an M-class environment contained within a force field bubble. Temet observes that although this chamber is natural, readings from around us detect more regular-shaped hollows and even tunnels, suggesting those were dugouts. There are also a lot of magnetised metals and energy fields around the place, but no problems yet. We check in with the surrounding crew, beginning with Ishimura.
Reading a lot of background radiation and some wild magnetic fields. It's like the pulsar and the nebula are supercharging the metallic crystal compounds here. The environment's very different from anything we'd consider a habitable planet. Explains why the Hur'q are so alien. Quite a treasure for a geologist like myself.
So this planet gets charged up by the nebula. Interesting. What happens when it reaches max charge? Does it explode? The next officer of Kira's we talk to is Crewman Williams.
I should have a habitation area set up soon. We can replace the reducing atmosphere in this cavern with standard oxy-nitro, and warm things up a bit. Kane's keeping watch, and Weir is looking into other connected areas. We should have a perimeter field up within a few minutes.
Ishimura, Williams, Kane, and Weir. Ishimura, that's the name of the ship in the sci-fi horror game Dead Space. Williams, they may be named for Ash Williams from The Evil Dead. Kane, that's named after Thomas Kane from Alien. And Weir is apparently a reference to Event Horizon. All of those had happy endings, right? And why have I never heard of any of these crewmen till now? And why they're wearing red?
Everything's in order here. Define, do you still have a lock on us?
Affirmative. If you need transport, there may be a slight delay due to pulsar emissions.
I'm getting something odd on my tricorder. Up there!
Oh shit.
Glad you're still with us. Whatever that was must have left you for dead. I'd get moving in case it comes back to make sure. Looks like you're in a series of tunnels that connect to a larger cavern. Garak and Bashir are close to your position. They're moving into a large open chamber. Try to make your way to them.
Okay, we still have comms.
Be careful. Some of the crystal formations down there are emitting intense amounts of energy. We can't lock onto anyone with transporters, and the others are reporting that directed energy weapons won't work.
This is Bashir. Garak and I are alive, but we're a little lost.
I'll try and find my way to you guys. So it looks like the floor of the place we were in collapsed, because among the debris and rubble we've got the supplies and flares from the cavern above us. What collapsed it appeared to be a Hur'q, but it was obscured by shadow. And around this place we have unhatched germanium eggs. Not a great situation. The creature above us let out a shrill call, but one more powerful than any we've seen a Hur'q make before. It literally shook the cavern apart. I wonder if it started some sort of resonance feedback among the crystals or something. Could be we're dealing with a form of Hur'q that is adapted even more to life on this harsh rock. And if the minerals here are energized by the pulsar, what could that exposure do to a Hur'q whose biology is primarily made from similar materials?
Keep moving. You should head up to another chamber.
Right, I'll shut up. Oh, but these eggs are making me nervous, though they aren't at full maturation yet, like the ones we saw first hatch on the Kantari Lukari colony, so I think we're safe from them, for now.
The creature's in a passage near your location. Stay sharp.
Okay, but if it could be picked up by sensors, why did it get the jump on us? Instinctually, get my energy weapon ready before remembering they don't work. Great.
Garak and I are moving into a very large, oblong chamber.
And here I was, hoping those cozy, cramped little tunnels would make a...
Looks like the door to the next chamber is locked.
Kira there, cutting off our chatter again. Garak was going to say that they were a nice vacation spot, a reference to his claustrophobia. The passageway we just walked through is led around to an upper level of the cavern that we fell into. From here we can see down to the place where we landed, and I'm surprised that Hale survived the fall. Then again, these suits are incredibly tough. Maybe that's why I kept them. This chamber is joined to by different crystalline formations. The purple bud-like eggs are joined by long spindly spires of salt-like somethings. All of them are producing a magnetic interference, and at the opposite end of this expansive chamber we have the sealed entry that Kira mentioned, our first obvious signs of artificial structures. The emblem on this door is one that resembles the Hur'q logo recorded by the Klingons from ages past, but simplified. The door also appears to be the only way to proceed, so we give it a scan.
Those readings you're getting from that crystal node are interesting. It's generating a localized magnetic field. Manipulating that field could cause a response similar to pushing a button or flicking a switch. I wonder, do you think Hur'q can sense magnetic fields similar to sharks on Earth?
Wouldn't surprise me. We see something similar with Tholians, who are also very crystal-like in physiology. Could be this is how the Hur'q manipulate the majority of their technology.
Yes, of course. I think you'll find a way to manipulate that magnetic field to open the door. The morphogenic crystals are probably the keys. So look for one nearby that has a similar output to the door node.
Right, yes, of course. I bet a Hur'q could just screech out some wavelength. But I don't feel like shouting at this door for hours, so yeah, I'll take my chances trying to find a crystal.
The readings I'm getting on that crystal are weak. It probably isn't usable. That one's got an odd harmonic. Doesn't seem to match the rest. That's the one you need. Use it to open that door.
Right, third time's the charm. This one should match. Open sesame. Neat. also quite loud. I hope nothing heard that.